Hey everyone, and welcome back to Pick of the Week. We're going to unpack some really cool stuff today.
Yeah, we've got a lot to cover, from building data pipelines that can handle anything you throw at them.
To the ethical side of things with these new AI assistants. Some are saying they can practically run your life.
And we'll even walk through a Python project using, well, wine.
Who doesn't love a good glass of data-driven vino?
And if we have time, we'll round things off by taking a look at one of Python's most overlooked features, the ellipsis.
I'm always surprised by what those three little dots can do.
Especially with multidimensional arrays, the ellipsis can really simplify things.
Okay, so let's jump right in and talk about building data pipelines that can take the heat.
Ah, yes, those crucial systems that keep data moving within an organization, like a company's circulatory system, but for data.
Exactly. And this Katie Nuggets article really brings home what can go wrong when your pipeline isn't built to scale.
They use the example of, well, Black Friday.
The shopping frenzy.
Yeah. Imagine an e-commerce company whose data pipeline is suddenly hit with a tidal wave of orders and user activity.
It's like their system was built for a light drizzle and then, bam, a tsunami hits.
Delays, inaccurate stock info, frustrated customers, the system crashes. It's a recipe for disaster.
So how do we avoid becoming another Black Friday statistic? The article gives some practical tips.
Like choosing the right architecture. They highlight cloud solutions like, say, AWS or Azure.
That makes sense because they give you the flexibility to scale resources up or down depending on your needs.
It's like having an expandable warehouse for all your data, one that magically grows to accommodate those holiday shopping sprees.
I love that analogy, but even with all that space, it's about managing it properly, right?
Absolutely. That means choosing the right storage solutions, like maybe a structured database.
For all that neatly organized information.
Right. Or a data lake for those messier, unstructured data streams you might get from things like social media.
The article also emphasizes using parallel processing. Imagine having like an assembly line with multiple workers,
each tackling a specific part of the process at the same time.
That's basically what parallel processing does for data, breaking down tasks into smaller chunks.
It speeds things up and makes the pipeline more resilient to those sudden data surges.
Now, the article didn't really touch upon the tools and technologies behind this, did they?
No, but there are some powerful ones out there, like Apache Kafka.
For real-time data streaming.
Spark for large-scale data processing.
And Airflow for orchestrating your entire pipeline.
Oh, and don't forget about the ongoing optimization.
Right, even with the best architecture in place, you've got to constantly refine the pipeline.
Get rid of any unnecessary data transformations, find faster algorithms, and minimize how much you're moving data around.
It's all about fine-tuning that engine for smooth and efficient operation.
So data engineers out there, take note. Build those pipelines to be robust, adaptable, and ready to face any data tsunami that comes your way.
You'll thank yourselves later. Okay, let's switch gears and get a little hands-on with some Python.
Always a good time.
We found this fantastic Katie Nuggets article that walks you through building a data science application from scratch.
From scratch. Cool.
And the best part, it involves wine.
Ah, the classic wine dataset. A data science favorite.
Relatable, but complex enough to be interesting.
The dataset has all sorts of chemical properties of wines, along with a quality rating.
Exactly. The goal is to build a model that predicts a wine's quality based on those characteristics.
So like what we can predict whether a wine is good or bad based on its chemistry.
That's the idea. And the article provides a step-by-step guide using Python, scikit-learn, and FastAPI.
Wait, FastAPI, what's that?
It's a modern web framework for building APIs with Python. You'll see how it all fits together.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So how do we get started with this wine prediction project?
Well, first you load and explore the data. Then comes pre-processing.
Getting rid of any missing values, cleaning up inconsistencies.
Yep, that kind of thing. Then you split the data into training and testing sets.
Ah, the classic training and testing split, essential for evaluating how well our model performs.
Right. And then you scale the features to make sure they're all contributing equally to the model.
Makes sense. We don't want one feature overpowering the others just because it's on a different scale.
Exactly. Now comes the fun part, building a logistic regression model.
Ah, logistic regression. Good old reliable. So this model will learn the relationship between those wine characteristics and its quality rating.
Think of it like training a sommelier in a box. It analyzes the chemical composition of a wine and tells you if it's a good vintage.
I'm already picturing myself at a wine tasting with my AI sommelier, but wouldn't it need to know a lot about different wines?
Well, in reality, A real-world application would involve a lot more data and nuances, but this project is a fantastic starting point for anyone wanting to build data science apps with Python.
So we're not going to be replacing sommeliers anytime soon.
Probably not with this project,
Yeah.
but it's a great way to understand the whole process, from data preprocessing and model training to deployment.
Oh yeah, deployment. I almost forgot about that part. How do we actually use this model in the real world?
That's where Fast API comes in. The article shows you how to save the trained model and build an API. Then you can use that API to send wine characteristics to your app and get a quality prediction back.
Wow, so imagine inputting the alcohol content, acidity, and other properties of a wine and getting a prediction on its quality. That's pretty cool.
It is. And speaking of cool applications, let's move on to our next pick. This one delves into the world of AI assistants and, well, a new player making a lot of buzz.
Oh, who are we talking about here?
It's called Claude.
Claude, huh? Okay, tell me more.
Well, it's developed by a company called Anthropic, and they're positioning it as this, ethical alternative to other AI assistants, like ChatGPT.
Anthropic, that name rings a bell.
They were founded by former OpenAI employees, actually.
Uh-huh. So they definitely know this field.
It seems like they're really trying to address some of the ethical concerns around AI, especially with how fast ChatGPT took off.
Right. So what makes Claude so special then? What can it do that others can't?
Well, for one, it has this massive context window.
Context window.
It's basically how much text it can handle at once.
Yeah.
We're talking 100,000 tokens, which is way more than GPT-4's, like 32,000.
Okay, so it's got a really good memory, basically.
Yeah, like an AI with a photographic memory that can remember tons of information.
So what can we actually do with that, besides, winning trivia night?
Huh. Well, we've seen demos of it, planning trips, setting appointments, even building simple websites.
Websites, wow.
It suggests that Claude could be pretty powerful for automating tasks that normally take a lot of human input.
Right. Think of all the time we could save if it could handle things like scheduling and organizing. That'd free us up for more creative work.
Exactly. But let's not ignore the big elephant in the room here, the ethical implications.
Yeah, that's a huge part of this whole AI thing.
So how's Anthropic ensuring that Claude is being developed and used responsibly? They keep mentioning this constitutional AI thing, but what does that even mean in practice?
Constitutional AI, huh? That sounds pretty serious.
It is. It's basically about giving the AI a set of principles to follow, similar to those in a national constitution.
Like equality and non-discrimination, that sort of thing.
Exactly. It's like giving Claude a moral compass to guide its decisions.
It sounds promising, but I guess we'll have to see how it actually plays out in real-world situations. Can an AI really be ethical?
Right, exactly. We need to see how it handles ethical dilemmas, and whether it can truly live up to this ethical chatbot title.
I've seen some interesting discussions online about Claude's, personality.
Like it has one.
It seems like it. Some say it's thoughtful and caring, while others find it a bit detached and formal, like a very polite robot.
So like a really advanced customer service rep.
Kind of, yeah. But I think it makes sense that its personality is still evolving, considering it's still early days.
It's probably learning from all these interactions.
Exactly. AI personalities are complex, and we're still figuring out how to shape them in a way that aligns with our values.
And let's not forget about the potential impact on the job market.
Right, that's a big one.
On one hand, AI could automate a lot of routine tasks, which could free up human workers for more, creative and strategic work.
But there's also that worry about AI replacing workers, especially in jobs with lots of repetitive tasks.
It's a valid concern and one we need to be proactive about.
Definitely. We need to think about reskilling and upskilling workers for these future jobs.
And consider the ethics of AI automation. Make sure it benefits society as a whole, not just a select few.
AI is a powerful tool, and it's up to us to use it wisely.
Well said. Okay, ready for our last pick of the week. This one's a bit more technical, but it's a really fascinating look at one of Python's hidden gems.
Oh, I love these hidden gem discoveries. What is it?
The ellipsis.
The ellipsis, you mean those 3 little dots?
The very same.
I thought those were just for, indicating unfinished code.
Well, they are. But there's more to them than meets the eye. This Katie Nuggets article we found explains it all.
Okay, you've got my attention. Tell me more.
For example, they can simplify working with multidimensional arrays.
Multidimensional arrays, those can be a pain to work with sometimes.
Exactly. Imagine you're trying to select a specific slice of a multidimensional cake.
A cake.
Yeah, it's a good analogy. The ellipsis acts like a wild card, saying, give me everything in this dimension.
So instead of specifying all those indices, you just use the ellipsis.
Exactly. It's super helpful when you're working with libraries like NumPy, which rely heavily on array manipulations.
That makes sense. It would definitely make the code much cleaner.
And it doesn't stop there. The article explains how the ellipsis can also be a type hint for flexible structures, like tuples of unknown length.
Type hints. Those are becoming more and more important in Python.
Definitely. And the ellipsis basically tells Python, hey, this tuple can have any number of elements, but I know there will be strings, for example.
So it gives you flexibility without losing clarity.
Right. And it's useful for type hinting callables with flexible arguments, too, like functions that can take a varying number of inputs.
So it's like this secret weapon for Python developers who want to write powerful and elegant code.
I like that. And it lets you handle a wide range of inputs without writing tons of extra code.
The ellipsis. Who knew it could be so versatile?
I know, right? So, there you have it. From building data pipelines and exploring ethical AI to the power of the humble ellipsis. We've covered a lot of ground today.
It really shows you just how broad and deep data science is.
And it's constantly evolving. There are always new tools, techniques, and ethical considerations popping up.
It's an exciting time to be involved in this field.
Absolutely. Okay, before we wrap up for today, let's quickly recap all the great picks we've discussed. All right, let's recap. We kicked things off by talking about those data pipelines.
The ones that need to be able to handle tons of data, especially these days.
And how important it is to have a pipeline that can scale. You know, one that won't buckle under pressure.
We've talked about that Black Friday scenario, a good reminder of what can happen if things aren't built right.
Right. And then we discussed those practical steps for building robust pipelines, like picking the right cloud architecture.
AWS, Azure, that kind of thing.
And the importance of managing all that data effectively.
Choosing the right storage solutions for your needs.
We even touched on parallel processing.
Ah, yes, getting things done faster by dividing and conquering.
Exactly. Then we shifted gears and got into building data science applications with Python, using that wine dataset.
Always a fun one.
It's a great project for anyone who wants to see how those data science concepts can be used in the real world.
And who knows, maybe someday we'll all have those AI summaries.
Maybe. Then we moved on to AI assistants and Claude.
That new one from Anthropic?
The one that's supposed to be the ethical alternative to ChatGPT.
With that impressive context window, it can handle so much information.
We discussed both the benefits and the risks of AI assistants like Claude. How they can automate tasks, streamline things, even help with creative work.
But we also have to think about their impact on jobs and how to make sure they're being used ethically.
Exactly. We even got into a little discussion about Claude's personality, which is apparently still developing.
AI personality is a whole new world, isn't it?
It is. And finally, we rounded things off with a look at Python's ellipsis.
Those 3 little dots, who knew they had so much power?
They can really simplify things, especially when you're working with multidimensional arrays or need to write some super flexible code. So there you have it, another episode of Pick of the Week in the books.
I always learn something new from these deep dives.
I too. And we hope you did as well.
The world of data science is constantly changing, so it's important to stay curious and keep exploring.
Absolutely. Until next time, happy data diving, everyone.